Welcome to Hoole.co, the podcast that unpacks marketing, branding, and digital trends for the real estate industry. In this episode, we discuss the necessity of a real estate business needing a high street presence in an increasingly digital world. If you're running a real estate business, where should your money go? Into a physical shopfront or into a digital strategy, which works harder for you, i.e. 24/7? Let's get into it. If you walk down any high street in Australia, you'll see plenty of real estate shopfronts. And this is in an era post-COVID where businesses shut down, closed their retail shops and shifted more to online. Danielle, I'd like you to tackle the question first. What do you think? Do real estate agencies need a physical office or retail shopfront?
Look, well, a high street office isn't cheap. Thinking of a metropolitan area, you could be looking from anywhere from 60 to 80K a year just in terms of your rent. And that's before you even factor in things like the staffing of the office, making sure somebody's there to answer the phone or greet a walk-in if they do happen to come by. Your electricity, the fit out, signage, a cleaner, at least security, depending on the location of your shop. And really, at the end of the day, is it just a costly billboard? And I guess the question becomes, does a customer even walk into your real estate office to find out about you or learn more about your business, learn more about your listings like they used to 25 years ago? It was key for real estate agents 25 years ago to have that high street presence so that people could walk past when they were picking up their bread and their milk and check out the listings that were in the shop window. But now today, are they doing all of that online? So do you really actually even need to be in that location?
So what's your conclusion, Danielle, at this point in time? So you used to work at the coalface, you were in a head office working for a big network, and then the team that you worked with went out on their own, became an independent, and you were physically in a small retail shopfront. So what's your first-hand experience and your thoughts?
Look, in terms of, from my experience, when I was in the big network brand, we were in a small shopping complex. The agent that I worked with had a Hoole.co office behind the shop front with a signage. It was just my team in there. Nobody ever walked into that area or came in. Then when I moved into the independent business, it was in a much more prominent, high traffic location. Still pretty much the only people that walked into the office were tenants that had misplaced their keys and needed some help. Or, you did get the odd walk-in, but I think in relation to the overall cost of operating an agency in that location, could it have been achieved somewhere else and delivered the same result with some digital marketing and a billboard? Potentially.
And that's a good point. If the main people that are coming into the shop are from the tenancy, the property management side, then does it mean that you only really need a shopfront if you're running a property management division or if you are purely a property management agency? So sales could move away from that high street position. Do you still think we need a high street shop for property management?
From a property management perspective, I think there's definitely more traffic coming into the office because there's things like keys to collect, more regular signings of leases, etc. But I go back to the point before, does that need to be done in a high-cost retail shopfront, high street location? Really, could it be done somewhere else? Could you have a smaller office? Could you take advantage of co-working spaces? I think they're all options that could be considered by real estate businesses now in this age.
And you've touched on the fact that documents need to be signed, and we're all quite used to receiving and sending signatures using various DocuSign or sign products. So do you even need to do that part? Obviously, you need to hand over the physical keys. And when I bought my home about a year and a half ago, the agent meets me and lets you into the property and you do that inspection together.
Yeah.
Surely there's a chance to get rid of the physical office altogether.
Yeah, and I was definitely just thinking that in terms of, some of the smaller property management businesses that I've come across where there may be independent operators. They're not using a shop front. They may not even have an office and they're doing all of the things by meeting at the property. And I guess that's the advantage of the real estate industry and our service is that we actually do our business in the homes. So rather than the office.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about our clients. So we've got a big agency with a team of like 25 plus, and they use a very small retail shop front, and they've got their receptionist and then their 3 property management staff. But then they've got their main office is in the back of the suburbs in an area, and there's no real signage to make it identifiable to people driving past. And then we've got clients that, as you mentioned, they're a smaller team and they work from their home. So maybe the car is more important because the car is driving around the neighbourhood and can have signage on it. Maybe that's more important than the office itself. So, Frank, what are your thoughts from a brand visibility point of view?
Yeah, this is the weighing up the pros and cons of a physical shop front versus a presence elsewhere. Regardless, you need to have some kind of presence. And if you didn't have a shop front, you would then be wanting to appear in other places where people can see you. You could do a more targeted approach, which would be the digital approach, something that we do here with Hoole. Otherwise, it's an outdoor marketing presence where you might have billboards that you can always be present on in your region that you serve. It could be with sports teams. It could be even just signage and ads that you might place within a shopping centre. Things like this that you can still remain present away from a physical location where you do have the overheads, obviously, but shifting that investment into something to keep your brand, what you call physically available, so people can see, so that they do think of you when needed, when they're looking for an agent, so that you are top of mind. And you always got to get in front of them to be able to do that. They don't just wake up and start thinking about you. We've always got to keep prodding and keep prodding and keep prodding, so that someone does recognize you, is aware of you, and then later down the track remembers you when necessary. So there is a bit of a way up of which way you can go. But if it's not serving the needs of your clients and customers to have a physical presence, if you can have a better experience for your customers digitally that works for them, and most of your clients are shifting towards that. We all know how to use Zoom because of the pandemic, and obviously a phone call is still relevant and available. But even that in-person experience, if they're looking for that, it's jumping in the car. And as we say, you can have these touch points of something like vehicle signage. So there's lots of different things we can do here that is an alternative. And I spoke to a real estate agent about this, about different presences as they expand into different markets. How could they be present without having necessarily a team down there, but still be present in that region? And it was just having a facade shop front. There was no actual people in it. It was just more of a dummy shop front that acted like a billboard effectively. So it was less rent and overheads than having people in there and everything that goes with having a physical location, but it had what felt like a presence within, say, that town.
Interesting. So if you went to that shop front, there was no receptionist?
No. So it would just be a facade with contact details, web address and phone number to contact, and obviously some kind of notification on there to say this is not a manned office. So that was quite interesting to me when that came up in conversation. I was like, wow, that's a different way of doing it. And we've seen that shift, I think, Mel, with a lot of independent real estate agents coming to the forefront where it's digital only. It's all an experience done via email, via Zoom calls, via phone calls, and then having a presence that is very much digital in terms of marketing your services to people. And we can do that much more targeted. I think that's the thing we're sort of working towards here in terms of this conversation, is how we can remain, digitally present with a more effective way of targeting the right people. That might be something we could lean into here.
Yeah. And just before we move into the digital discussion, you're making me think of 2 clients as you were chatting. So we've got a lady that works alone in a regional town, and she approached local retail shops and got a digital board put in the window. So she rents a corner of their window display area, and then she's got a board where she can change her listings out or put a message there, so people can still walk down the high street and see her business name, see her name, see what listings she's got. But they have to use QR codes or ring her or email her, and then make arrangements to meet up with her as needed. And then on the flip side, the other day, you and I, Frank, were talking with a client that services a big area in Brisbane, and they had a brilliant idea. Something that they do is they have the stickers on the dustbins.
So it was a QR code that you could put on your garbage bins and effectively use that as a billboard, because I don't think it came under any restriction of promotion. That felt like a genius idea, something in a different way other than standard for sale or for lease billboards on a front of a property that you can only have when the property's on a market.
And the interesting part was obviously you can't just go around sticking your... So they had a message for the community, which was slow down 30 Ks an hour or slow down children about. So they were providing these messages that were helpful and reminders to the community to stay safe, at the same time subliminally positioning their business name and a QR code if you wanted to head to their website.
So I think buyer's agents are also leading the way in this space. We work with a lot of buyer's agents quite regularly, and I can't think of a single one that's ever had a physical offer smell, can you? So they're able to build sustainable businesses, do everything electronically, meet with their clients electronically. And if they do need to actually physically meet with them, there's plenty of spaces. In my area, there's a trade club. It's got a nice common area, internet access, and they just go meet in the lounge of that place. It's quiet during the day and you can still have private discussions in person. So I think traditional agents could probably learn something from the buyer's agents.
Definitely. Buyer's agents don't have sales boards. So buyer's agents are very much like us with our business. We can't piggyback on the back of our client campaigns. We can't leverage their marketing spend to promote us. You can't do that if you're in the management side of property management. So they're in the same boat as other services businesses like us or mortgage brokers and so forth. The other things that we have done with clients, because although we're digital, we come from traditional marketing backgrounds. So often we marry the two together. So we've done buses. We've worked out bus routes or signage at train stations. Another one is at the bowling club. If your demographic is downsizers or retirees, think about the places that they hang out. What clubs do they belong to? It's not always school related or child related. So you've got to think a little bit more creatively. Danielle, let's compare digital media to physical advertising. Let's just use a letterbox drop versus a social media post and ad campaign. What kind of stats do we see in those two channels?
If we were looking at a letterbox drop, that in terms of actually having the physical DL or postcard printed, for $5,000, you'd probably be looking at, $400 or $500 to print a run in that size. You can print in bulk and get some cheaper prices, but it means running with the same message repeatedly. So you're probably $400 or $500 for the printing, and then $50 per 1,000 for having it distributed in letterboxes. So if you're trying to reach those 5,000 homes or potential home sellers, a 5,000 leaflet drop might cost you $750. That's a lot of money. One, not everybody checks their letterbox on a regular basis anymore. Two, Australia-wide, about 30% of homes are rented. So 30% of that $750 is going straight in the bin. Because the message isn't relevant to that person living in the home. Comparing that to the digital world, if I look at our stats at Hoole, so we reach about 1,500 people for $20. So if you're trying to reach that 5,000 number, you're looking at like $80, $70, $80. Yeah, that $70, $80 mark. That's 1/10 of the price to reach the same amount of people. And then you've got all the benefits like retargeting. And so once they've gone to your website and looked at you or checked you out on social media or clicked to read more on a post, we essentially, flag them and tag them, and then we can follow them around the internet for $4 or $5 a day. Whereas that physical card, they may look at it, throw it in the bin, and then that's over and done with, and that piece has finished its life.
Yeah, definitely. Digital media has a longer lifespan, can hang around indefinitely. And I always feel nervous producing printed items because you always notice a spelling mistake after the thing has gone to print. Whereas in the digital world, I love the fact that if we notice a spelling mistake, we just take it down, fix it, and we don't lose any money. So In terms of how many people you can reach over the course of a month, what do we usually achieve?
With a digital marketing plan, we can guarantee that we can reach everybody in your local area that's online, and your budget dictates how many times they see you.
So it's near impossible to do letterbox drops and reach everybody in the neighbourhood, especially as you could be looking at a distribution of 20,000 homes, or there might be 50,000 homes in your area. So with digital media, because it's a tenth of the cost, you can reach a lot more people. In fact, the entire neighbourhood. And then it comes down to how often you want to be seen by them.
And with the digital platforms as well, Mel, that you're able to target people that aren't living necessarily in your geographic area. So, for example, from a landlord perspective, if we know who that person is and we have contact details for them, then we can actually target the ads at them, and so they'll see it. Whereas the physical letterbox drop, they'll never see because the tenant will throw it in the bin.
And I would argue that the homeowner puts it in the bin as well, because my letterbox is right next to my dustbin. And so it goes 2 foot with me, and then it's straight into the paper bin.
I'm probably different to the usual homeowners with such an interest in real estate marketing. I definitely take a look and check them all out, not necessarily from a who would I use to sell, but looking at the creative and that side of things. And then after I've done that, then I throw it in the bin.
So Frank, I want to ask you about the opportunities that we have with digital media when it comes to messaging when we create a funnel versus a print item. Explain to us how we can use social messaging or Google Ads messaging and then change the brand message as they click through to the next page or step in the funnel.
This is where we can really target, and we go through strategies with our clients and find who they want to target, and then we go marketing campaigns to those different segments. So there might just be one target, or there might be several, and we provide a set of opportunities to get in front of those customers, and we tailor the message depending on the outcome that the client is looking for. We can do that in social media ads, Google ads in terms of what someone searches, and other ads that appear in other places as well. But if you look at those as the top line of how we can reach people with creative that speaks to them, either with a message or a visual, and gets them to stop and go, that's speaking to me. We can tap into that emotional connection first and then connect with them further, especially if they're in the market. And so if you're, say, an investor and you see an ad and you're looking to invest in a certain area, we might put up an ad that takes you through to a landing page, and then we go into a bit of an analysis of the area that is all branded, and then it takes you to a contact form, and the agent can then get in contact with that potential client. So it is a nice little trickle down, and it makes it much more targeted and much more purposeful and strategic, if you will. So that's a good way, rather than just sort of fish in a barrel, just putting something out there on a billboard, hoping and wondering if the billboard's actually done anything. We know it's done something because we've got the clicks or we've got the calls as a result of doing these things.
Yeah. And the thing that I see translating from print over to digital, the number one mistake is that in the print world, you try and fit your entire message into that one deliverable, into that one card or that one letter. Whereas in the digital world, you can break up the message, because we all have short attention spans. And the first thing that you put in front of somebody is commonly called the hook. And that's just a very short, to the point message that's going to get people to stop. So as they're scrolling, we say that it's thumb stoppable. So it'll catch their attention out the corner of the eye, or they're actively in the market, as you said, looking to put their home on the market to sell or lease, or they need help from a buyer's agent to buy somewhere. So we can get the brand marketing messages in front of the right people. And then, as you alluded to, the algorithm also filters out people that are irrelevant. Danielle was mentioning that 30% of the average suburb in Australia is rented. So 70% is owned, the other 30% is rented. So the algorithms flush out the people that aren't looking to sell or run a lease campaign. So that helps save your budget as well. So you've got less people that are the wrong people seeing those ads. And we all show these behaviors to Google, Google knows what we're looking for, what we're interested in. They know what subjects we've been researching, and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, they know the same thing. They've decided that we are interested in certain topics. They've decided that we are part of a certain segment. And so they make it really easy through data and behavioral targeting to help the advertiser, be that the real estate professional or us on their behalf, get the ad in front of the right people.
Yeah.
Very little wastage and a very cost-effective budget.
Yeah, and the thing as well is that if we did an outdoor billboard, you kind of need to get it right the first time and hope that it's working. The good thing about a Facebook ad, for instance, is that you can do this thing called A/B testing. So we can put out 5 different examples and Facebook will tell you which one is performing better so that you're not having to waste your ad spend on 5 different ads. It'll say, no, this one's the one that's working. For future reference, when we do another campaign for you, we can look at that creative, replicate something similar. And having worked with a lot of different real estate agents, we know it works. So we use the data that we've had from other instances and put that into something that we know does perform well, if not exceptionally, based on what the goals are at hand.
Yeah, very good point. We have the advantage that we get this bird's eye view and we see how advertising campaigns work for city-based agents or regional agents or coastal agents, and we can take those learnings and save our clients the money that they would have to spend testing and identifying which creative works and doesn't work. So we've covered a lot today. I'd like to wrap up with a discussion around the cost implications of the physical spaces, the physical presence versus the digital presence. Dania, what could you share in terms of what gets the best bang for your buck?
If you're in our metropolitan area, you could potentially be looking at $100,000 a year to have that office space and cover just the cost of the rent, the electricity, the garbage collection, and all of those things. So $100,000 is a lot of marketing dollars. It would get you a full digital marketing program that would get you seen multiple times by everybody in your local area, and not hoping and crossing your fingers that they're going to walk past your shop one day and stop in and talk to you. Using that digital marketing program, they'll get to learn about you, get to hear your voice. You get none of that from a shopfront.
That's true. And if we did like for like, so $100K on the premises and $100K on a budget, which is production and ad cost over the course of a year, that still negates the fact that you have that receptionist that you need in the shop, unless you do what Frank said and you've just rented some space on the high street, but there's nobody servicing it. So you could be looking at $150K, right, for the cost of
definitely. Yeah. If you include those staffing costs, definitely. And you're just hoping that that homeowner walks on into the office and then you have that opportunity to talk to them. Whereas digital, you're actually putting that message in front of them on a daily basis.
And we know that our clients are budget conscious because just like us, they're running small businesses, service businesses, and we do have clients that get stuck with this conundrum and they feel like they do need that physical high street presence. But Frank, what's your view? What would you bet on if you opened your own real estate agency, you went out on your own, decided not to be a brand expert, became a real estate professional? Which direction would you go?
I think from a differentiation point of view, you'd be standing out quite differently to the rest of the real estate agents in your town. I mean, I live in Lithgow and we've got 5 real estate agencies all on the main street of Lithgow here. And if I came along and I was the digital version and I could put more of my attention into my clients in other ways, or at least get in front of more of my potential clients many more times than just them driving down the main street. They might only do that a couple of times a week and maybe not even pay attention. Whereas we want a brand to get as many views as possible, even if they're not wanting to click through, passively, they're still seeing it. And the more opportunities we have of that, the more you have a client remembering and absorbing that brand and going, okay, yeah, when I need him or her or them, then you're the first to come to mind. If you are always the one that is in their peripheral, it's always in front of them as many times as possible. There's a stat that goes around, that circles around in branding in general, that if you get seen more than 7 times, it takes about 7 times for somebody to really remember you. If you can do that digitally, much more targeted to the people that do need you, it's going to be a much better investment for you to really roll with, rather than, having that shop front if you don't need it.
Yes. If you've got endless buckets of money, then yes, have both. Have the high street presence, have all the billboards, have your stickers on the bin, and have your digital campaign running. But if you really are limited on what you can reinvest out of your revenue each year back into your business to keep you front of mind, then digital massively outstrips physical. And we do have this conversation with clients. I think the challenge for real estate professionals, especially on the sales side, not on the buyer's agency side or necessarily property management side, but on the sales side, it's very hard for the sales professionals or business owners that have come from a sales background to appreciate the number of times they are seen in the digital world, the number of times that they appear on that mobile phone or on that computer desktop, because they only value meeting in person. They are traveling to their office every day, so they see their billboard on the way, they see their office shop front, but that's not other people in the neighbourhood. Like, if you don't live on that side of the neighbourhood, you may not travel down the high street very often. So translating that, we now live in a digital world and you can be seen 52 times a year versus somebody might see your office or pass it, maybe once a month. It's really hard for us to convince salespeople sometimes that they really are being seen. They just don't get a sense of that unless people stop them in the street or their friends and family or clients tell them, I've seen you everywhere. Yeah. Like, you're the most visible agency or agent in the neighborhood.
There's a thing you physically show the numbers. Those quantifiable in terms of that investment is that you see the numbers of reach and click-throughs versus you don't get that other than people walking in your door and a shop front. And, you might feel that that's the only way that conversion is feeling tangible. I get it. Having someone call you and say, hey, I want your services in any service-based industry is a very good yardstick for success. But still, if you're looking for leads, if you're looking for potential reach and brand awareness, you get it on paper. You see the statistics, and that should be the yardstick for success, as well as somebody walking through the door, if you have both. And it's not to say don't have both. I don't think that's the point we're trying to make, is if one works out economically better and is more viable, then digital, there's a great opportunity waiting.
Yeah. So to wrap up, Danielle, do you believe real estate offices or the high street retail shopfront will become obsolete?
Question, Mel. I think as an industry, we are quite tied to that presence, and it will require some change of thought processes. I think that there's other opportunities for agents or agencies to find other working spaces that could free up some money for them and cash flow for them and would deliver the same results. And then you could put that back into your brand marketing and be seen everywhere.
Yeah. So it really comes down to looking at the numbers, thinking about how society has changed in terms of how we interact with all sorts of businesses from a paperwork point of view or communication point of view, and deciding whether it's time to let go of traditional shop fronts and either move to a hybrid model or move to a model where you work remotely and you go see your customers in their location so that you're improving the overall service that you give. Thank you both for your time today. It was an interesting topic, and I look forward to hearing what our listeners think and whether they're going to move to a more digital approach to their presence.